Well, hey guys, it's Darwin here with another round of my top backpacking tips and tricks that I've learned over the past 10 years and 15,000 plus miles of hiking. All the little things that I do every time that I head out into the backcountry to make sure that my time on trail is more efficient and enjoyable. Today's video is specifically centered around post-hike recovery, both on trail and off trail. The little things that I do to make sure that I'm keeping my body happy and healthy, because little aches and pains can lead to big injuries that can end your hike. Now, some of these things are sort of goofy and basically no-brainers. Some of them I bet you've never seen before, but all of them I have really started to implement into my daily routine, both on and off trail, because I'm starting to get older and it's not as easy to bounce back on trail the next day. So, to jump in right off the bat, my first tip, trick, or hack that I have for you is basically my end of day routine when I get to camp. So, I just got done hiking a big day on the trail. Now, whether that means 20 miles of pretty easy trail, 10 miles, maybe even 8 miles of decently easy trail, or it was a big effort day with a lot of climbing, a lot of scree and scramble. First thing I like to do is set up camp. So I like to set up my tent and get that ready. Then if I'm super hungry, it's been a long day, I'm probably gonna eat first, then start my recovery process. But regardless, my recovery process consists of 3 main items. First off is an 1/8" foam pad, a tiny little cork ball, and a tree. So one of the main reasons that I carry the 1/8" Gossamer Gear Thin Light pad is not only to use it during the day as a sit pad, but also to use it under my sleeping pad as kind of Velcro and adding a little bit of R value. The other reason that I carry such a big pad is because I like to use this as sort of like a yoga pad, to be able to put this on the ground when I get to camp and to stretch. So that's gonna be the first thing that I'm gonna do. I'm gonna stretch everything out. Stretch my joints, stretch my muscles, stretch my back, my hips, everything that really took a beating throughout the day. Every once in a while, I do a little bit of yoga. I've been kind of bad about it over the last handful of years. I really got into it for a while, but regardless, I'm gonna stretch. The next thing that I'm gonna do is actually roll out my muscles, because sometimes you can have a little bit of twinge in a muscle, a knot, maybe some soreness, some extra soreness in a muscle, whether it's in your shoulders or your calves or your feet. The long end of a long day, my feet typically can be pretty achy, especially if I've been hiking on a lot of hard pack stuff. And back in the day, I used to use something like a trekking pole. So really using this to kind of dig into my muscles. That being said, this is kind of hard to get like under the feet and stuff with, or using something like a water bottle to just kind of like roll stuff out and really kind of get into the muscle. But back in 2019, I actually picked up this little guy, and it's been in every single one of my kits since. This is a little cork ball by a company called Rology. So basically it weighs nothing. It's nice and firm, but not too firm, so it's got a little bit of softness to it. And this thing has been absolutely clutch over the past, 6 years, rolling out those aches and pains. So I like to take this and just kind of roll it into like my shoulders. I get up into my calves and roll it, and especially on my feet. You can actually see how this thing's kind of dirty, to be honest. This has probably got quite a bit of hiker foot funk from the past 6 years on it, but I like to put this down while I'm sitting on my mat and really grind this into the arch of my foot to make sure I'm getting out any knots, pains, aches, any of that stuff. So now that I've stretched out, now that I've kind of relieved those muscles, the next thing that I'm gonna do is I find a tree, or sometimes a rock if I can't find a tree, and I'm gonna get my feet up. Obviously, your legs take the most beating during a long day on the trail. And with your muscles getting sore and stuff, a lot of lactated blood can get into those muscles, make them stiff, make them sore. So I like to get my feet up to make sure that I'm getting that lactated blood back into my core, to where my core is gonna burn out the lactate and then put fresh blood back in. It's the old RICE method. Rest, ice, compress, and elevate. So this is the elevate method. Another thing that I have done in the past is, if I find a nice cold stream, some really cold water, I'll actually go and soak my knees and my feet in that cold water before I elevate them using the ice method from the RICE method. So you've probably seen this a ton in my videos, like my PCT videos, some of my CDT videos. You'll notice me just kind of sitting there and soaking my feet in the water. And then you'll see a lot of clips of me elevating my feet. I do it at lunch breaks. I do it multiple breaks throughout the day, but especially at camp. So doing those 3 things is gonna set myself up for good recovery, making sure that I'm taking care of those joints and taking care of those muscles. So the next day, all of that is repaired and ready after a long night of sleep and some good calories, and then I'm ready to go the next day on the trail. Hey folks, I wanted to cut in here real quick and let you know that today's video is sponsored by onX Backcountry, the navigation app that honestly, I couldn't have done most of my trips in 2025 to test this gear without. Not only did I use onX Backcountry to completely route out and plan my entire Alaska thru hike, but I also used the offline version of the maps while I was out in the Alaskan wilderness to make sure that I was staying safe and navigating where I was going. And I used onX Backcountry to do all of my training for my bike tour over in Central Asia, because onX Backcountry has multi-sport features baked right in, which means that if you're like me, and not only do you get into hiking and backpacking, but you're also into cycling, climbing, or winter sports, onX has you covered on all of them. And you get to use some of these super awesome features that are baked in for all of those sports, like the current weather layer, so you can see what the weather is going to be like before you even get out on the trail. Or we're in shoulder season, which means snow is on the way, so using something like the slope angle layer, make sure that you stay safe from avalanche risk when you're up in the mountains in the snow. Or the 3D mapping, so before you even get out there, you can look at your terrain and plan accordingly. So if you want to get some of these super powerful, awesome features in your pocket out on the trail, check out my link down below, because right now you can get onX Backcountry for $1, only $1 for 3 months, which is a stupid good deal. And honestly, I'm not sure how much longer it's going to last. So take advantage of it now and help support my channel. I can't thank onX Backcountry enough for sponsoring me, sponsoring my channel, and all of my trips this year. And let's get back to the video. All right, next up, I want to talk about some of the recovery tools that I use at home, and not only when I get back from a big hike, but also when I'm out doing training hikes, doing shakedown hikes. Maybe it's just an overnight. I'm doing a big bike ride, or even going to the gym. Like I said, I am getting older. I just hit 40 in August, and I have not treated my body well over the years. I raced triathlon for 8 years, and then I got right into long distance hiking that I've been doing for 10 years. So I have beat the crap out of my joints. And actually, I have torn my meniscus twice in my right knee, and then in my left knee, I did a partial tear. So I've had surgery on my right knee when I was still in my 20s. So with that being said, I like to do some extra things to make sure that I'm getting good recovery at home, to where I'm getting good rest and then I'm ready to go for my next trip. So one of those things is going to be, just like I said, what I do on the trail, and that is going to be stretching and rolling out. So a lot of times at home, I will stretch out just like I do on the trail. I do a lot of yoga, but I will also use a big foam roller instead of my little cork ball to really roll out my muscles. But there are 2 things that I do at home that I wouldn't really carry on the trail. One of those things is actually a pair of compression boots. So back when I used to race triathlon, when I would do these big races, they would always have these booths set up, and they would have compression boots to where you could literally put on these big boots that would kind of compress the blood out of your legs or wherever you were going to put it, and then get that back to your core. So the same thing as elevation. Well, years ago, my wife and I decided to invest in some. We bought a cheap pair on Amazon, and I use those pretty religiously, especially when I get back from a long bike ride. But the thing that I've really started using over the past year is something I picked up back in 2024 and has been an absolute game changer for me, and that is a Kineon Move Plus. I'm a big fan of a podcast called The Ben Greenfield Life, a guy that used to be a triathlete, and ever since he spends a lot of time talking about recovery and eating the right foods and getting good training, especially when you're doing a lot of endurance activities like hiking or cycling. And I heard him talk about this device, heard him talk about how it really helped with a lot of issues in his knees that he had. Now, I am no stranger to having a ton of knee issues. Typically, when I get back from a big hike, my knees ache quite a bit. Do a big bike ride, my knees ache quite a bit. In my right knee, there's not a lot of cartilage left, so it definitely can use the extra recovery, and I decided to pick up a pair of these, and they have totally changed the game for me over the past year. So basically, what it is are these little bitty modules that have red lasers in them. So if you're not familiar with red light therapy, basically what it does is it is a red laser that penetrates through the skin and down into your tissues and your muscles, which can reduce inflammation. It helps blood vessel repair and cartilage repair. So using something like this on my knees has been phenomenal. Now, I'll be 100% honest, when I first got this thing, I thought it might be kind of a, I don't know, maybe a joke, maybe it really wasn't gonna work that well, but this thing has really helped speed up my recovery when I'm at home. It's got this little strap and basically, you turn it on, and there are the red lasers. Again, I know it sounds like mad science, but I can tell you after using this thing for the past year, it 100% works really, really, really well. So it packs down really tiny and you can carry this with you. Now, I probably wouldn't carry this with me on the trail, like on a backpacking trip or something like that. But like I said, after those long days of training, after those long hikes, getting back from a backpacking trip, a pack rafting trip, a bike ride, when I get home, I'm gonna stretch, use my muscle roller, just like I would out on the trail, my compression boots if I've really strained out my muscles, and then the Kineon Move Plus on my knees and other joints because, again, it's just been an absolute game changer. All right, so next up, let's talk about nutrition and supplements. Another thing that I've really tried to pay attention to over the past handful of years is my nutrition. It's the vitamins that I'm getting. It's the fats and the proteins and the everything that I'm getting to make sure that I'm giving my body good tools to recover those muscles, to recover those joints. So I've really changed my diet out on trail. I used to eat a lot of super high carb foods, kind of your typical through hiker trash staples like Pop-Tarts and ramen and mashed potatoes and all that crap. And I've really started to add in high fat, high protein foods to make sure that I'm giving my body good fats, to make sure I'm giving my body good protein at the end of the day. Also, good salts, using things like electrolyte mixes. I use one called Ultima, has no sugar in it, has a ton of great salts in it, so I'm giving my body good salts to repair. But the other thing that I've done, and really one of them since being out on the PCT, is take certain supplements for good recovery. And a supplement that I've actually been using since early 2018, I carried it on the PCT and tried to remember to take it most of the days I was out there. And something I've been taking ever since is a supplement actually called Kion Flex. Again, I get a lot of knee pain. My knees get stiff, they get sore, so I wanted something that was good. I've tried a lot of different things. I tried glucosamine, I've tried fish oil, all that stuff. Didn't seem to really help, and it kind of upset my stomach a lot. And I was listening again to a podcast years ago and heard somebody talking about Kion Flex. Basically what it is a natural supplement that has turmeric root in it, has a bunch of different enzyme blends in it. And I can tell you that when I don't take this stuff, I see a huge difference. I get stiffer, my knees ache. So this stuff has really worked out for me. Not sponsored or anything, just an absolutely amazing supplement. And then the next thing is going to be a good multivitamin. So when you're out on trail, even if you have a good high fat and high protein diet, even if you're eating great food, you are still lacking a lot of vitamins and nutrients in the food that you're gonna eat out there. So I have been using this multivitamin since going way back from my triathlon days. It's a multivitamin by First Endurance called Multi-V. So it has certain things in here that are very good for endurance athletes. So it has higher levels of certain things that people that are out spending all day doing a lot of endurance activities like hiking, cycling, climbing, any of that stuff, to make sure that you're replenishing those things on the trail more. Again, not sponsored or anything, just a big fan and been using this for God, what, 18 years. 18 years I've been using this vitamin. So highly, highly suggest this. So with just adding a handful of supplements to my on-trail and off-trail diet, making sure that I'm getting a high amount of protein, a high amount of fat, high amount of good salts and good carbs, it's really helping to give my body the tools it needs to get good recovery so I can have a good next day on the trail. All right, so the last tip, trick, or hack that I have for you, something that is so important for recovery, is something that we all have, and that's our brain and our body. Listening to your body out on the trail. Something that all hikers and backpackers, bike packers, climbers, rafters, anybody is terrible at, is really listening to yourself. You're in a good groove, you're feeling good, you're trying to make miles, you're trying to get to the top of a climb, you're trying to keep up with other hikers on the trail, and you start neglecting those little aches and those pains. You start neglecting your body just being tired and your body telling you like, hey, maybe we should get off the trail for the day. Maybe we should take a rest. Maybe you should take a 0 day. And you fight it because you just want to stay out there. You want to keep up with your friends. You want to make miles. And it's something that we're all guilty of. I have done a ton of times, which unfortunately has led to some major injuries and even made me quit a hike. So when I went out to do the Pinhoti Trail, I made a dumb mistake of taking insoles in my shoes. I use a custom insole, taking some insoles that were really old, really wore out, that I shouldn't have been using. I took them out, I knew better, and even in like the first 2 days, I started feeling aches and pains.
Over the last couple days, I've been having a little bit of a problem, a little pain on the inside of my knee, and I'm pretty sure that it's my insoles.
I kept pushing it because I wanted to stay out there. I wanted to do it fast. I had a certain goal in mind of when I wanted to start the trail, and eventually it got worse and it got worse and it got worse, and I ended up having to pull out of that hike because I didn't listen to myself. I didn't listen to my body. I didn't get off the trail and take a 0 day.
So, I've decided to call my hike. I've decided to end my 12-day fast packing attempt of the Benton MacKaye Trail. And I didn't even get to the fast packing part because I was trying to take it slow in the beginning, get my body used to it. And then as soon as I was in that groove and had my trail legs, I was going to start jogging and fast packing. But that didn't happen.
So one of the best things that you can do for recovery is just simply listening to your body, making sure you're giving your body what it needs. It'll tell you. It'll tell you when something starts aching, whenever there is a pain. And if something like stretching or something like rolling out doesn't help, that's when it's time to be smart, get off the trail, and take a rest. All right, guys, there you go. That's all the tips and tricks and hacks that I have for you when it comes to on and off trail post-hike recovery. Again, I'm really starting to step up my game and really listen to these things as I'm starting to get older, as I now have 15,000 plus miles of long distance hiking on me, and how many ever miles of years of racing triathlon, cycling, all that stuff. As I'm getting older, this stuff is starting to catch up to me, and I'm really starting to feel it. So implementing good recovery on trail and off trail post-hike or post-cycling trip or post-workout has been essential to making sure I can still get out there and do what I love. Speaking of that, what is something that you guys always do at the end of a long hike to make sure that you're bouncing back, that you're getting good recovery? Is it stretching? Is it rolling out with a little ball? Is it using a device like the Kineon Plus? Leave me something down below and let me know your thoughts. Guys, I hope you're doing well. Hope you're taking care of yourselves. I hope you're taking care of each other. I love you, and as always, thanks for watching.